after years of reporting on Somalia, I wanted to write something more considered and more analytical and longer. The beginning was really, really tough, but once I started writing it, which was at the beginning of last year, 2011, it took me about 4 months to do it, even though I'd done the research. It took me a couple of years to do the kind of reading research before that, and then all my reporting from Somalia and on Somalia for the past 20 years was really the content of the book. Yeah, I mean, I think that the title it's partly about how I feel that the media, and perhaps especially the Western world, they portray and understand Somalia in a really, really limited way. Because it's a sort of perfect media story about Africa. It conforms to all the stereotypes. You can get your pictures of starving children, anguished mothers, pirates, people carrying Kalashnikovs, sort of Al-Qaeda-linked fighters. All those images that the world kind of associates with places like Africa, you can get them all there. So I think that it kind of conforms to a stereotype that is wrong about Africa, and in a way a lot of journalists and others, that's all that it's like they're blinded to other things in Somalia, and every time that I've been there I always see lots of other things, and I thought I wanted to present a more, I don't know whether other people would agree that it's a more accurate picture, but I wanted to present the picture that I had seen, the outside world, because it seems not to understand Somalia properly. When it does intervene for good or bad reasons, all those interventions so far have failed. I don't know what the current one, that is a massive intervention by, you've got African Union peacekeepers there, you've got Ethiopia has intervened again, Kenya's there, various special forces from places like the United States are reported to be there. I don't know what the end result will be this time, but in the past it's never been particularly successful. I think it's too early to tell whether this sort of British-led reignited interest in Somalia will be any different from the others. And Somalia has got a long tradition of finding any kind of international intervention, be it politically or military. They don't really like it, and so it's difficult to see how it will be successful this time when it has failed in the past. I think it's fascinating that now that it does appear that Somalia has got significant oil resources. You're getting people like the Chinese have got some kind of rights to explore. You've got exploration already going on in Puntland. India's reported to be training soldiers for the new Somali army because they might get something in return, i.e. oil. I wonder whether Turkey's so fascinated with Somalia because maybe oil is a factor. And Britain is also reported to be interested. And whether that will mean that I sort of wonder whether that's going to alter the way that they get involved with Somalia, because now it's not such a sort of patronising thing about, we're going to help those poor starving people, or we're going to rid Somalia of its alleged Al-Qaeda linked insurgents. It's like they might start looking at Somalia in a different way, but then when you look at the way powerful countries like the United States have got involved in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, when it's kind of resource-led, such as in Iraq, it hasn't had very sort of positive results for anybody. So I think in some ways Somalis should be quite worried about the fact that they have oil, because it might lead to kind of more powerful countries trying to get involved, and it will lead to even more confusion. The danger with the transition in Somalia itself is that you've got too many kind of outside interest groups they're kind of shaping the future, and they're not going to get the future that they want by doing that. But then you have so many kind of vested interests there, like in Nairobi you have something called the Nairobi bubble, which is lots of diplomats, aid workers, journalists like me. I mean, I don't know whether my job would be much less kind of active if there wasn't Somalia for me to report. It kind of keeps me in work as well. But people who kind of have a vested interest in Somalia continuing to be a problem because they can sit in Nairobi and elsewhere earning big fat salaries and very rarely even having to go to Somalia. And so if Somalia becomes peaceful, they're going to be out of a job. I mean, that's a very cynical thing to say, but I do think that it is a factor.